He begins in a small town with a voice like warm gravel and an unhurried smile. Morgan Freeman's story isn't a fairy tale about sudden riches. It's a steady climb, a collection of wise choices, talent honed through decades, and a public image that became as valuable as the roles he played. This is the story of how a boy from Memphis turned modest beginnings into a reported net worth near $40 million, told as a clear, human narrative you can follow and learn from. Opening scene: Memphis, Tennessee. Mid-century America hums with blues records and neighborhood chatter. Freeman grows up in a working-class household where money is practical and conversations are earnest. There's no grand inheritance, no overnight scholarship to fame. He learns discipline early: school, odd jobs, joining the Air Force for structure, then testing his luck in the world of acting. The early years are textured with uncertainty. Auditions missed, roles too small to matter, nights when rent felt impossible. But he has two things that matter most for any long game: talent that attracts attention and a temperament that survives the long stretches between breakthroughs. Act 1. The Apprenticeship. In the 1960s and 70s, Freeman builds a foundation. Theater stages in Chicago and New York become his training ground. Every line delivered, every vocal nuance shaped his instrument. At this stage, income is inconsistent, but the investment is in craft. The first lesson: treat your skill as capital. You can't invest money you don't have, but you can invest time. For Morgan, time at the Goodman Theater, Steppenwolf-adjacent circles, and early TV spots cultivated credibility. This credibility would compound over time. Act 2. The Breakthrough and Branding. Transition to film is not instant. His breakout in the late 80s and early 90s, roles in films like Driving Miss Daisy and later critically acclaimed performances, shifts his career from working actor to bankable star. With critical acclaim comes higher pay and better agent relationships. The film industry rewards reliability. Directors prefer actors who deliver emotionally truthful performances without drama. Freeman's calm professionalism became an asset. That calm, paired with a voice that reads like narration for the soul, turned into a personal brand. In Hollywood terms, he became a safe, enriching investment for high-profile projects. Money-wise, this is where the compound interest of reputation comes into play. Higher profile leads mean higher salaries, but there's more: profit participation, product endorsements, and voiceover work. Freeman's voice is a commodity. Documentary narration, commercials, and corporate gigs brought consistent streams of revenue without the physical demands of a shooting schedule. Smart actors diversify income. Freeman's portfolio shifted from purely acting paychecks to multiple revenue channels that paid well for time spent lending a voice or a face. Act 3. Business sense and long-term deals. As his career matured, Freeman took on a mix of smart deals. Big studios often attach profit-sharing arrangements to projects with proven stars. When you're part of blockbusters or prestige dramas, you can negotiate back-end points, a share of a film's profit. For the average actor, this is rare. For someone with Freeman's box office draw, it becomes possible. Those back-end deals, along with residuals from television reruns and syndication, create recurring income. That recurrence is the secret sauce of a stable net worth, money that continues to arrive long after the work is done. There's also asset diversification. Morgan Freeman invested in property, homes that appreciate over decades, and later in business ventures. He has publicly been linked to companies in different sectors and has used his name to lend credibility to projects. Not all investments pay off, but a crucial lesson here is intentionality. He used his earnings to purchase assets with long-term value instead of funneling everything into a high-turnover lifestyle. Personal life interlude. His life hasn't been without complications. High-profile relationships, legal issues, and public scrutiny created headlines. In financial terms, public controversies can be expensive: legal fees, settlements, and reputational costs. But Freeman weathered these storms, and the resilience of his career meant that temporary setbacks didn't erase decades of goodwill and professional accumulation. The takeaway is realistic. Wealth building is rarely linear. Reputation and legal exposure are variables that must be managed, and Freeman's example shows both the fragility and the recoverability inherent in public careers. Now zoom in on income streams in practical terms. For a major Hollywood actor, paychecks come from film salaries, upfront payments negotiated per project, back-end deals, a percentage of profits when a film performs well, television and voiceover, stable work that often pays well relative to time invested, endorsements and commercials, brands pay for credibility, residuals, payments for reruns, streaming, and syndication. These can last decades. Investments and property, real estate, businesses, and financial instruments that appreciate or generate cash flow. Combining these, Freeman's path shows how diverse revenue sources protect against industry volatility. When film roles ebb, voiceover and endorsements often provide a steady tide. Risk management appears subtly throughout his story. He never burned professional bridges. He kept a reputation for being easy to work with. That's soft financial planning. Relationships can lead to more work, better deals, and stability. In contrast, impulsive decisions, public feuds, unpredictability on set, can cost future income. Managing one's public persona is a financial act, especially in entertainment. Let's talk numbers without getting lost in spreadsheet talk. By the time Freeman reached late career status, his known assets and decades of scaled earnings put him in the tens of millions. Public estimates hover around 40 million. How does that add up? Regularly earning high six-figure or low seven-figure salaries for big films across 3 decades, plus royalties, voice work, and investment returns, compounds into that figure. The math behind the scenes is less glamorous than the films: consistent earnings, prudent spending, and long-term investments. But wealth isn't just a number on a balance sheet. Freeman's choices reflect values: a preference for steady craftsmanship over headline chasing, an ability to choose roles that extended his career rather than burned it out, and a willingness to monetize unique assets, like his voice, in tasteful ways. He also maintained privacy and modest public spending compared to many peers, which preserved capital. There are lessons anyone can take from this narrative, regardless of industry. 1. Invest in your skill early. Time spent improving craft is capital that appreciates. 2. Diversify income. Don't rely on one client or one type of work. Look for complementary revenue streams. 3. Protect your reputation. Professionalism is a long-term financial strategy. 4. Negotiate for long-term value. Back-end deals, royalties, and residuals pay for time to come, not just time now. 5. Use earnings to buy appreciating assets. Real estate and businesses can convert transient income into lasting wealth. 6. Prepare for setbacks. Legal issues or PR problems can arise. Build buffers and manage exposure. The human element matters. Freeman's voice conveys a sense of earned calm, an asset that can't be easily replicated. But behind that voice is a life of small, cumulative decisions. He often chose roles that fit his strengths, struck deals that paid off later, and used his name judiciously. That sort of strategic career management is accessible in principle to anyone. Identify what you uniquely offer, then find multiple ways to monetize it. Ending scene: a quiet afternoon on a movie set or in a recording booth. The work is still work, but the stakes feel different when you've spent years building goodwill. Morgan Freeman's reported $40 million net worth isn't a single triumph. It's the result of decades of steady income, smart negotiation, diversified revenue, and careful public management. It's also a reminder that financial success often looks less like fireworks and more like a slow-burning, well-tended flame. Final thought: this isn't just about mimicking a celebrity strategy. It's about adopting the mindset of long-term accumulation. Invest in your core skill, treat reputation as capital, diversify where you can, and be patient. The path from modest beginnings to multi-million-dollar net worth rarely has shortcuts. Instead, it rewards persistence, prudence, and the courage to keep showing up. So when you hear that unmistakable baritone on screen or in a documentary, remember that the voice comes from decades of work, and the $40 million figure reflects not just movie magic, but disciplined career choices. If you take one thing away, let it be this: financial success, like a great performance, is often built one thoughtful decision at a time.